her rising terror. Her tenuous hold on consciousness remained a hopeless breath away as her mind turned into a blurred mess of lines and hazy colors popping behind her eyes. As the fight for life began to slip helplessly from her grasp, her attacker shifted positions to straddle her body, his thighs pressing like a vice grip against her ribcage and trapping her arms against her sides as one muscled forearm replaced his hands. With his free hand, he grappled for something at his side. And then, suddenly, the unmistakable touch of a cold, sharp blade pressed into the corner of her mouth. "If you scream or try to fight me, I will slice out your tongue before I peel your skin away and leave you out here for the scavengers to pick your bones apart. Do you understand?" The evil promise that he meant every word blazed from his murderous eyes. Desperately trying to cling to any hope for escape, Kennedy did the only thing she could. She nodded. Seconds later, when something pricked her neck, she was filled with the sickening clarity that she'd been drugged. Fighting to hold on to consciousness, she forgot she'd agreed not to scream, and so she sucked in a mouthful of air, only to have it cut off when her attacker ground his palm against her lips. Eyes bulging, heart hammering, Kennedy stared up at his dispassionate glare. With his face swimming in and out of focus, a fleeting image of this man sitting somewhere in a car flashed in her memory. But as she tried to hold on to the picture, her eyelids felt a magnetic pull to close. The siren ringing inside her head warned her that if she succumbed to the drug, she would die, and so she fought a losing battle to stay awake. When the man lifted her into his arms, she could do nothing but allow herself to be carried away, her limbs flopping in the air like a rag doll's. Her eyes slid open just enough for her to spot her car sitting in the parking lot, waiting for her. Weakly, she lifted one hand as if she could somehow summon it to come to her rescue. Metal scraped a deep gouge into the back of her head when her attacker tossed her into the trunk of his own vehicle. The distinct ripping sound of tape breached the fog in her brain, and the blood thundering through her ears as she lay there, helpless to move. Within seconds, her wrists and ankles were bound together with zip ties before a strip of silver buried her cries inside her mouth. The trunk slammed closed, sealing her fate. With her final sliver of consciousness slipping away, a deep cold stole into the center of Kennedy's bones, knowing her lapse in attention, despite how careful she'd always been in the past, had just gotten her killed. The last thought she had before her slide into black oblivion was that maybe the crows had been circling for her. Chapter 2. Saturday, May 28th. Huddled into a corner with her arms wrapped around her knees, Kennedy rocked back and forth, her eyes glued to the blood-streaked floor as her head repeatedly ran the reel of horror playing out in front of her. Powerless to help either of them, she listened as her abductor pummeled the limp body of a young girl handcuffed to and suspended from a metal bar spanning the narrow width of the room. Across the small space, the girl's dying gaze landed on her face. A muted scream butted up against the duct tape, sealing Kennedy's terror inside as, unable to watch, she turned away from the sight. Even after it became clear the girl had stopped breathing, the monster's murderous beating neither slowed nor ceased, not until the girl's head lolled forward, no longer responsive to the kicks and punches, or the inarticulate grunts and threats that had been part of what had finally dragged Kennedy's drugged mind back from unconsciousness. A sonorous roar bellowed from deep inside her abductor as he rained down a final series of blows before his rage sputtered to a standstill. Frightened at the man's sudden silence, Kennedy opened her eyes just as he reached into his pocket.